Well, it's one of those weekends when I get to Monday and I have so much information that I've gathered over the weekend that pertains to Bible prophecy that I simply have to pick and choose what we're going to talk about. This particular article caught my eye. The Census Bureau is saying that means-tested government benefit recipients now outnumber full-time year-round workers. I've been watching our slide towards socialism for a long time. Of course, we're no longer sliding. We're taking leaps and bounds. The Obamacare is a huge leap. In one big move, the government takes over 20% of the American economy. Already they had a large chunk of it. Now then, gobbled up another 20%. But this, sometimes you just don't know where you are. This monster is so big that you don't even know for sure what you're looking at. But this article caught my attention. Americans who were recipients of means-tested government benefits in 2011 outnumbered year-round full-time workers, according to data released this month by the Census Bureau. There were 108,592,000 people in the United States in the fourth quarter of 2011 who were recipients of one or more means-tested government benefit programs, the Census Bureau said in data received this week. Meanwhile, according to the Census Bureau, there were 101,716,000 people who worked full-time year-round in 2011. That included both private sector and government workers. Okay, let's pause a moment. So, in 2011, in the fourth quarter, there were 108,592,000 people who were receiving benefit programs from the U.S. government. There were 101,716,000 people who worked full-time year-round. So we have 101 million full-time workers, 108 million government assistance recipients. Now, let me break that down for you just a little bit. Now, think about this. We're reaching the point where more people are living freeloading, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure everything should be referred to as freeloading, but nevertheless, we have more people now living on the government dole than we do have people who are holding full-time jobs. Let me give you some more statistics here so you can understand it. Among the 108,592,000 people who fit the Census Bureau's description of means-tested benefit recipients in the fourth quarter of 2011 were 82,457,000 people in households receiving Medicaid, 49,073,000 beneficiaries of food stamps, 20,223,000 on supplemental security income, 23,228,000 in the Women, Infant, and Children program, 13,433,000 in public or subsidized rental housing, and 5,854,000 in the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program, also among the 108,592,000 means-tested benefit recipients counted by the Census Bureau were people getting free or reduced price lunch or breakfast, state-administered supplemental security income, and means-tested veterans pensions. The 108,592,000 people who were recipients of means-tested government programs in the fourth quarter of 2011 does not include people who receive benefits from non-means-tested government programs. That would include, for example, people who receive Social Security, Medicare, unemployment, or non-means-tested veterans compensation, but did not receive benefits from means-tested programs such as food stamps or public housing. Now, I believe means-tested means that if their income qualifies them to receive this. So there are, in addition to the 108 million that are on means-tested government programs, there are, I'm going to tell you how many people are actually now on Social Security and other programs. So In the fourth quarter of 2011, according to the Census Bureau, there were 49,901,000 people who received Social Security benefits, 46,440,000 who received Medicare benefits, 5,098,000 on unemployment, and 3,178,000 who received non-means tested veterans compensation. When the people who receive non-means tested government benefits from programs such as Social Security, Medicare, unemployment, and non-means tested veterans compensation are added to those who receive means tested government programs such as food stamps, supplemental security income, and public housing, the total number of people receiving government benefits from one or more programs in the government in the United States in 2011 climbs to 151,014,000, according to the Census Bureau. Now we have 101 million full-time workers. We now have 151 million people who are receiving government benefits. So how socialistic are we? And how socialistic will we be soon once Obamacare kicks in? I mean, already we're over the 50% mark for sure. Now, the reason we make a difference between means-tested and other things such as Social Security is because people have paid into this all their life, and therefore there's a level of belief that they deserved what they are receiving. Whereas the others who are receiving means-tested, they're being given what they're given because they are not making enough money to support themselves. So if you count both of these categories, both the means-tested and the non-means-tested, we got 151 million receiving government benefits every month and 101 million paying in. So we have almost 50% again, people receiving benefits from those people who are working full-time and paying in. How long can that last? And how long do we want it to last? Let me just pause a moment. Now, we all know needy people. We know people who need help. We know people who have physical handicaps, mental handicaps, other things. And I think most all of us, when we look at that, we say, okay, they need help. But I'm thinking back when I was a boy, when there was no Medicare, Medicaid, most of the programs, and very little Social Security at the time. I'm looking back on it now, and I'm saying, what did they do then, and are we better off now than they were then? Well, I know what they did. Every family took care of themselves. So when there was a misfortune in the family, when there was a problem in the family, everybody just gathered around and took care of their own. And, of course, that care was very close, right within the family. It was very beneficial. But now then, with this huge government bureaucracy and the huge bureaucracy required to administer it, I mean, how many people does it take to administer this program where people are receiving, where 151 million people are receiving checks each month? I mean, the workforce has to be humongous that's administering all that. Of course, none of that was necessary before these programs kicked in when everything was done through the family. Now, I'm not saying that it can be done that way, but I am saying we've got a problem that's getting ready to sink this country, and we might as well face it. We have a problem that's going to sink this country. Perhaps Jesus will come back and solve the whole thing. Nevertheless, it's very interesting when we look at this whole situation. Now, while you're thinking about this, let me look ahead a little bit, because Iran has just sentenced 4 Christian men in Iran to 80 whiplashes for taking wine during communion and the possession of a satellite antenna. Now, we're talking about taking a whip and lashing 80 times these people who drank some wine at communion. Now, it doesn't say how much, but it appears it was a normal communion service. And now then they've been sentenced. They have the verdict went out on October the 20th. They have 10 days to file an appeal. They apparently are filing an appeal, but if they are not granted the appeal or some kind of relief, then that means that they are going to undergo this punishment. 80 lashes. Jesus received 39 stripes on his back. We're talking about 80 lashes here. The government of Iran, Islam. Now, not only would this happen under Iran, but it would happen in many, many Islamic nations. We know that we have a growing Islamic population here in the United States of America. If they took over America, the odds are quite high that this type of law would be implemented here. In Saudi Arabia, if you convert to Christianity, the penalty is death. In many other Islamic countries, the same would be true. So are we alarmed enough at this lurking menace that seems to continue to come over the horizon? They now claim 1.5 billion adherents, right around 1/4 of the world's population. The prophecy about Islam in the Bible actually foretells it will be 1/4 of the world's population in the end times, which is where we live right now. So another huge story that I can tell you more about a little bit later on in the program. Another thing that's rearing its ugly head is that it's now been estimated that Iran could have a bomb within 1 month. A lot of people went to sleep at the wheel because it looked like it was going to be a year or two. However, while all these negotiations have been going on, Iran has been upping dramatically the speed of her centrifuges so that she now can enrich uranium at a much faster rate. This has reached the point where Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel says the 20% mark is no longer relevant because used to it was going to take them quite a while to get from 20% to 90%, which is weapon grade. However, now then they can go from 5% to 90% in 30 days. Well, how do you monitor that? How do you keep watch on everything? Is our spy network good enough that we know where every enrichment place is? How do we keep track? How do we know they're not doing it today? How would we know they're not 5 days away from a bomb today? Those are all interesting things. Iran with a nuclear weapon sitting astride the entire Middle East, that's a scary thought within itself. Everything is moving, everything is shifting. It all has prophetic significance.